Okay, starting a bit late, but you want to introduce the stream?
Yeah. About the thing in UK about the male only curfew. I think from my sources, what I know, it was only a proposition, right? But a lot of people on the internet were behind it, and it was from what I know, the curfew was at 6 p.m., which is like already insane. Because do you know how much things happen at 6 p.m. or like after 6 p.m.? You can't go to like any after school activities. You can't like if you're working late, you can't, be outside. And I think that's like insane of a concept already. But okay. Um
Yeah.
but like it bothered me that my mother was complacent in it. Like, yeah, it's solve a crime problem. One person murdered is way too many. But like if you propose the exact same idea but like put a minority, then it'd be racist. Like if we took that one death of a transgender by like Muslims in Turkey and we said, "Oh, you're right, we should impose a curfew," then that would be so racist. But it's just okay because it's just men.
It is interesting how many people are like basically agreeing with the curfew without saying they are. Like we had a huge Twitter storm on the Men Are Human account, and there were all these people who they weren't tacitly saying that the curfew was a good thing, but they were basically launched into arguing against me, even though all I was really saying was that women really don't have to be as frightened as these people are trying to make them. I mean, it's like I was just pointing out that their actual chance of being murdered is minute, and there's 30 something like 34 million women in the UK. One of them is now dead, was murdered, and they're now basically uh, trying to validate their fear by posting about every time they've had a bad encounter outside on the street. And if you say to them, "Oh, us men have experiences that are very similar to that," then they immediately get really angry at you and they start arguing against you, and they're like, "Yeah, but who who was the one who was like, uh, you know, was it men who were, you know, oh sorry, was it men who were, doing this to you, or was it women?" They'll basically tacitly ask you who it was who was harassing you. Well, actually, I've had harassment from both. I've had random people I don't even know the gender of throw bottles at me out of cars. I've had a couple of women try to get me killed. Blue or Orange, it really would be good if he could come on here because a woman stabbed him in the neck and nearly killed him just randomly, and then other women tried to get him beaten up because uh, they got the idea in their heads that he was beating on this woman because women are never in the wrong. And this hysteria is not good, to put it bluntly. Uh, so, does anyone have anything to say about it?
I can continue if no one wants to.
All right. Well, I
Speak.
mean, uh, the story at the moment for anyone who hasn't filled in on it is that a Green MP in the UK suggested, in a serious sounding way, that men in the UK should all have curfew starting at 6 p.m. And he said he was going to put it forward for consideration and basically try and pass this into law, which is absolutely insane. I mean, it didn't sound sarcastic, although some people are saying it was sarcastic, and that it's because women were told to stay in their homes. Well, not legally told, but advised by the police that there's a killer about, so possibly best to stay indoors for a little while and not go out alone, which is basically just like the general warning police give whenever any crime happens, because they're always about, minimize the risk in whatever way they can and stuff like that. But it's very interesting that some people, a lot of people are saying it's a joke, but some people are actually very much agreeing with the idea and basically blaming men and saying that men are the enemy, men are the problem. Well, we've set up this stream here tonight to talk about how men aren't the problem and how it's simply criminals who are the problem. And this is really an appeal for calm. Yitra, would you like to continue on what you were saying?
Well, I kind of have to go, but what was I trying to say? Oh, yeah, the Tin Man. There's this person on Instagram that makes posts kind of like about men's rights, and he made a post not during this, but like before, about like identity politics and how people use the excuse, oh, right, he was killed, but like by another man, and that just muddies the waters. I feel like it's
Racists
important to
say the
not
same
go
thing.
into like tribalism, just saying that, oh, these people kill these people, because that's just, it doesn't get anything done. It just creates unnecessary fear. Someone did something bad, right? And it doesn't matter who this someone is. It's just that person did something bad. Him being a man has nothing to do with his political opinions. So why should that be included? Anyway, I have to go, but it was nice talking.
All right then, see you later. But yeah, as I was saying, accidentally I've interrupted him there, but if you go onto Nazi forums and things like that where they're actual racists about, you'll see they say the same things about black men. They'll say that, oh, this was black on black crime. They'll say, this was them killing their own sort of thing. And so they build this narrative of any crime against white people is like military action, basically, like an attack on the white race. Any attack by a white person or a black person is self-defense, and any black on black crime is just black people being awful or something. I don't remember exactly how they frame it, but this is how they set up their narrative. And it's very, very interesting how similar that is to the feminist narrative, where they will say that men killing men is, men's problem. Like it's showing the problem is still with men. Men killing women is an attack on women at large by all men, and women killing men is always self-defense. It's incredibly toxic. Kathleen, have you been keeping up with the stuff that's been going on?
What stuff is that?
Oh, the stuff with the woman who was murdered and the take back the night stuff and the too many women and too many men sort of hashtags and all these
No,
people
wait, when
sharing.
did it start? I have not seen any of it, actually.
Oh, it's a couple of days ago on Twitter.
Oh, I'm not on Twitter. Let me try to Google some of it real quick.
Sure, hang on. The name of the woman who was murdered is in the chat if you want to grab that. It might make it easier.
Sarah Evanston? Or whatever it was?
Yeah, I think so.
Is that the same person?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'll look it up real quick.
So while she's doing that, does anyone else have anything interesting they'd like to talk about? No, guess not. Okay, so I'll try and fill in the void here. The blowback from this has been pretty big on Twitter. As far as I can see, there's like several major hashtags have been spawned from it, with people saying not all men, of course, because the like the people saying these things are basically blaming all men and saying that like men are just like this and like we need to demonize men and things like that. But then we've got the like the people saying no, no, you shouldn't demonize all men, it's just criminals. And then the response is too many women and too many men, which basically sounds like what it is, which is them saying, right, but it's too many men who are killing too many women. But when you look at the actual stats, the murder rate for women is minute. It's really tiny. You're actually much more safe being a woman than you are being a man. Partly that's probably because women take a lot more safety precautions than men. Men tend to undervalue their own safety. It also helps that women do have, like, men will rescue women that they see who are in trouble a lot of the time. And there are multiple other factors that probably play into it. But it is interesting that the level of outrage that's been raised, even though this is just a criminal committing a crime. It probably wasn't a random attack. It was probably somebody she knew, which is usually how things go, which means that like Take Back the Night and stuff like that, just, you know, it's kind of pointless because, you know, he probably wasn't killed by some random guy hiding in the bushes. Because honestly, most crimes that aren't muggings don't happen in bushes. Like they don't like most rapes aren't people jumping out of bushes. Most murders aren't people jumping out of bushes. Usually it's somebody who you know or is local to you who like takes advantage of you because they know you are there and they know you personally. Like a lot of robberies are next door neighbors and things like that. So robberies again are something that's a bit more distant, but yeah, the blowback is very interesting. Shia Khan, do you have anything to say about the? Sorry to single you out, but or Pirate Skater or American Proud? Anyone? Sorry, trying to start a conversation. Oh yeah, for the people asking of what we're talking about in chat, we're basically talking about the controversy over this woman dying and how men aren't actually evil. You know, as controversial as that is as a statement, men are actually, like, generally pretty good. As I said to somebody, oh, Kathleen, do you want to chip in?
Well, I don't want to interrupt you. I can wait until you're done speaking.
But I just wanted to say that men as a whole, there are more men who would happily stamp on a rapist than there are actual rapists out there. You know, way more, vastly more.
So after reading this, and since I jumped in late, basically you all were discussing the fact that since this woman did activism for women who were being injured, now they're assuming that it's very much connected to this movement, and they're saying, see, one person hurt her, so it must mean that men are bad again. Like it's bringing what
I wasn't.
what did.
Sorry, I wasn't aware of that connection, but I can see how that they draw that. We drew the same thing with Mark when he was murdered, though it's hard to tell how much that played into it. But
it looks like that's what a couple of the articles I'm pulling up are linking it to. It's like more proof that the movement was correct, even though nothing has come up like who hurt her, if it was a family member, a partner, or something like that.
yeah, at this point, I'm really, really, really hoping it was like another woman or something who hurt her, because frankly, it would really, really disrupt the narrative. As bad as that sounds, like, I mean, just obviously it's already happened, and I'd rather it hadn't happened. But it would really, it would certainly disrupt this narrative that men are evil and that they're all going to kill women and stuff like that. Because we have actually had a bunch of articles recently about women who kill people. So yeah, that's I've probably said a few things that could be taken out of context, but I don't know. Does anyone have any thoughts on that? Well, to be honest, I think that this kind of controversy is probably based largely on a well of anxiety that has been fostered for decades by various people in the media and so on who really, they find it very easy to direct attention onto female victims in order to push whatever agenda it is this week that they have. And we have seen this time and time again where new legislation comes in because of one woman being murdered, whereas they don't pay that much attention to the 7 or 8 men who are murdered for every 3 women who are murdered. It's that kind of dichotomy where they'll pour all of this effort into that one thing, but that one thing is actually quite a minor occurrence, even if it is very tragic and shouldn't happen. I mean, I'm sure everyone here can come up with a few examples of men not being evil. So I mean, I don't think I really need to go into a big long list of how men are the greatest or whatever, because the honest fact is that both genders have their ups and their downs, and it's and can somebody see if Blue Orange is done with his what's he called, his errand yet?
Do you want someone to message him? Are you being serious? Or is that facetiousness because no one's talking?
Oh, I was being facetious, sorry. Maybe a bit passive aggressive too. I was sorry. Hey, did you look it up or?
Yeah, I did look it up and I read some. I don't know what you want my opinion on exactly. I'm reading a bunch of like related articles where they're kind of spinning it. Um, but it looks like they're just trying to say, see, like we were correct. There are, too many disappearances or too many injuries, and this just brings it more to the forefront. I mean, the movement is using it to their advantage, certainly.
Yeah, I don't think our movement, I think it's pretty crass to do that sort of thing in general, but I do think that when they do it, we kind of have to respond somehow.
Yeah. Do you have like a specific question about it? What we should
Ah, I mean, is there any new info on the case? I mean, I doubt they've got a suspect at this stage, but obviously, all the people I've spoken to have already pegged the gender of the suspect as male, which just goes to show you the bias in the courts and things like that. I mean, if people didn't just assume the gender of the suspect was male every single time, the chances are very, very good that a lot of those unsolved murders that are hanging around would be solved.
So here's one of the newest tweets about it, I guess. I don't really Twitter, but so someone posted about it with a link to the story. This is just heartbreaking. I'm sorry. This should never have happened. Men have a role to play to listen, to protect, and allow women to feel safe at whatever time of the day. I have sisters and nieces, just horrible. I'm sending my love to Sarah's family. So yeah, it looks like they are basically blaming it on men that did not protect her.
Mm. Even though the chances are whoever killed them waited until there were no men around.
Yeah, I've yet to find anywhere where they refer to her killer or a suspect as a he, but I'm still reading and seeing if I can find that.
Well, that tweet basically implied either that it's men's job to protect women, or that the killer was male and that they need to protect women from themselves. But it's hard to really say. But that definitely was a tweet calling for a traditional view of masculinity, where men act as the protectors and providers of women, and that does seem to be something which women do instinctively go back to in a crisis as like a whole. And you'll also see men doing this, where they will tweet like virtue signaling stuff, being hyper outraged on behalf of women and saying that all men should say sorry and stuff like that. It's like you remember
Yeah.
that guy?
I was just saying, yeah, I was gonna read this other one once we finish talking, this other tweet that someone has linked with it.
Oh, go on.
It says, men, if you've ever said she shouldn't have been dressed like that, or she shouldn't have been walking alone, or she should have been more careful, or anything else similar, you are one of the men we are talking about.
Well, I haven't seen anyone really saying that. I mean, there was one person who, on my Twitter feed, I think they suggested that he should have been more careful, but literally everyone shot them down. So it's like, who's really saying this when 99% of the stuff that I see has nothing to do with that? I haven't seen one tweet saying, yeah, but what was she wearing? I mean, honestly, we don't even know the circumstances here. We don't know who killed her, why they killed her, or what happened at all. It could be related to anything. It could be an ex, it could be her family, it could be a random, it could be anything. We just don't know. So it's really kind of callous for the people on this to jump onto this and run with an agenda. I mean, I could come up with. I've retweeted some things that I've noticed that are really quite. I hate the word hysterical, but hysteria is Like hysteria is what's happening right now. Here's one. Here's a really good one that I think I retweeted myself, or yeah, I did. Every single time I'm out with my girlfriends, and we part company, a thought will always cross my mind. Are they okay? Will they get home safely? Hashtag enough is enough. And it's kind of over the top paranoid in my mind. This is somebody who likely has anxiety issues, and I do think that really we need to rush to help people like that and like reassure them rather than rushing to basically say, yes, you're right. Yes, you need to be afraid, which is what's happening right now.
You think it's a very small subset of the population that thinks like that? I mean, I don't think that most of the men I meet up with are think I'm so incapable that they worry about me and want me to message them as soon as I get home. Where I feel like that's a very amount of people that feel like that.
That was a woman who posted that.
Oh, well, I mean, even my
Yeah.
girlfriend, if they were like calling me as soon as I got home, I'd probably think they were being obnoxious and dramatic.
Yeah, yeah, that would be overly dramatic. I mean, it's like every time you're out of their eye shot, they think you've been murdered. That is an anxiety condition, I think. But the problem is that people with anxiety conditions at the moment are on Twitter. They're being amplified massively, and charities and news companies and all this sort of stuff are agreeing with them. They're not saying, hold on, this is a rare occurrence. They're not saying that she's one woman out of 34 million. They're not saying that we don't know what happened yet. We don't actually know if she was attacked on the street or if it was somebody she knew. We don't know any of the facts, and it's dangerous to leap to conclusions about who the gender of the person was and so on. Because you see, you wind the clock back 50 years, maybe 60 years, and if Twitter had existed then, people would have been saying a black man did it. There would have been hashtag too many black men and stuff like that. And we would have there would be beatings on black men in like towns and things like that, and possibly random lynchings and things like that. It's that kind of hysteria that we're dealing with, and it's not healthy. It's really not. But it is historically unremarkable. It's
I would agree
something
with
that's.
that. Wouldn't it be interesting to highlight that right now? I mean, don't you all have rabies incidents over in the UK where they'll kill the closest 300 dogs? People don't like that.
I don't think we've really had any rabies instances in a long time. But if rabies did get to the UK, then people would go absolutely nuts. Like, I mean, people go nuts here when they find a weird spider in their bananas, or like it's
I'm just saying that that's a good idea. That's a good example of historical hysteria when it comes to dangers. Like they've also said, you know, oh, there's black men in the community. Wasn't that back when they had the colonial soldiers in Germany? They had like French colonial soldiers that were coming from the Cote d'Ivoire and places like that, and there was like rape hysteria, and they'd go out and kill them on the street, things like that. Like there's been a lot of examples of hysterias where many people or many animals have been killed, and then people look back in time and they're like, well, that was wrong. I'm gonna try to link some like past moral panics where basically people have said that there's widespread crime in this area and it must have been committed by a certain type of people. Can you hear me if I talk about the purpose of the links? Is anyone there?
Hello. Test.